Welcome back to Sports Dump, Lewis County's only sports podcast, sponsored by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery, Global Septic, and AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. And I got to tell you guys, I was coming home from work today, got off the old highway in Tenino to turn right. The three cars that passed in front of me, 3 straight AmeriCool Heating and Cooling trucks. Somebody was about to
emergency.
Get real cool.
Getting it done.
Somebody called that emergency hotline and was like, I am too hot. And they were like, we're on it. And
somebody had listened probably to this podcast and was like, hey, got an issue, guys. Great to see. I'm Aaron Van Tile, joined tonight by Chronicle sports editor Josh Kirschenbaum, Chronicle sports reporter Dylan Wilhelm, and Chronicle sports clerk Cody Christian. Let's go out and give a good 54% today, boys. Is that a reference?
Really?
What am I missing here?
Not seen the Jerry DiPoto press conference yet.
I read about it in the print edition of the Chronicle. So yeah, I understand the reference now.
Informed individual. It was a joke. We can skip this part if you want.
I'm still lost.
Jerry DiPoto said
stay lost.
his plan for the Mariners was to win 54% of their games until they're good or something.
No, it was that if they win 54% of their games, they will be fine.
If they aim to win 54%, sometimes they might accidentally win 60% and be really good on accident.
The month of August.
Yeah, and if you win 54% of your games for 10 years in a row, you get basically awarded a World Series at the end of it or something like that.
Interesting math.
That's news to me.
Anyway, it was a joke. It didn't land, and hopefully it landed with the listeners faster than it landed with Aaron.
Yeah, hopefully. I like to think our listeners are on average smarter than I am about sports. So, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Maybe it'll hit with 54% of them. I don't know.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And full circle.
Our first item today is on Alaska again. We're diving into our C2BL football segment. What this podcast is built around. The Loggers beat Toledo 20-0. He started the scoring on a 72-yard pass from emphasis mine from Caden Mazingo to Cooper Lawrence. Rodrigo Rodriguez scored the second 2 touchdowns, finished with 100 yards. Cooper Lawrence had a pick, and the Ani defense also recovered a fumble on a botched hook and ladder. Well, that sounds like a fun game.
They were there. They can tell you about it.
I'll get through the rest of these. Ethan Carver had a 42-yard run for Toledo on their first possession. Outside of that, the Unalaska defense held the Riverhawks to 2.4 yards a carry. Ani surges to the top of the standings in the Southwest Washington 2B South Division. They are 1-0. Dylan, Cody, care to chime in?
Yeah. I did have a front row seat for that botched hook and ladder. It was nowhere close. I have no idea why the kid threw it, but
Was it like a scripted hook and ladder, or just kind of
they drew it up. It was.
I think it was 3rd and 4th. It was a late down and distance situation where they had a long way to go and they weren't getting anything going, and they just said, "Screw it, we got to try something," and it obviously didn't work.
Just one of those typical stupid plays that Toledo would usually score 70-yard touchdown on you.
Yeah,
just didn't go that way.
Well, they can't all work.
Yeah.
On Alaska, are they good?
I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that. Are they 2019 on Alaska good? No, but they're definitely improved since their past couple seasons.
How far are they from that team, though? Because they're definitely closer.
I'd say 4 or 5 300-pound linemen.
I didn't never watch that team, but I watched 2021 on Alaska, which didn't go as far, but got to the semifinals, and they seem a good deal better than that. They don't seem a good deal better than that. They seem a good deal closer to that than they are to what they were last year.
Right. And like I've mentioned before, what they were last year is just trying to run an offense for a big team without big size.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems, I don't know really if they got a bunch of imports or kids just been growing. I don't know what they're feeding them out there, but they do seem a lot bigger and a lot more physical.
It is October, so they are feeding them strictly apples. It's apple harvest season.
Apple harvest season. Yes,
and it's funny that you mentioned being physical, because Maz was fired up and he used the word physical and or the term out physicaling about 10 times in the first 60 seconds of just, I didn't even have to ask him a question. He just started rolling and he was clearly fired up. Last year, Toledo kind of had that advantage, and that's something that they really took as. I don't want to say maybe they did take it personally. They used
they took it personally.
They used it as bullet board material all summer, and it was very clear that was a point of emphasis coming in. And he was fired up with how the team played as a whole, especially on defense.
I actually got a text. Yeah, he'll be fine with me telling you this. They're saying this on air. I got a text because from Alec, because Dylan wrote about how Maz's like immediate was like, yeah, last year the newspaper headlines were all about how we got out, how Toledo bullied us and was stronger than us, and we wanted to set that right. And Alec just texted me out of the blue on Sunday or Saturday, and he was like, I saw that lead where Maz was saying how the newspapers wrote about how they got out physical, and that was me, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, there was also a commenter on Facebook in the comments of this story. Do you want to save it?
Yeah, I want to save that.
Okay, we'll save it.
I haven't seen this, so I'm excited for this.
Yeah. One more thing about the Ani game. One of my biggest takeaways that I need to share with the listeners is, in case you didn't know, the homecoming queen at Onalaska gets a plaque shaped like an axe. Badass.
You get a plaque for being homecoming queen?
Yes.
I didn't know it was a plaque. I just thought it was an axe.
No, it had like inscripted names on it.
They don't do crowns out there?
I think.
Oh, there was a crown too.
Oh, that's cool. All right. Elsewhere in the 2B ranks, PWV beats MWP in the first Clash of the Hyphens matchup, 54-22. It was 54-0 at one point. Yeah. 4 different Titans had rushing touchdowns. Nate Fluke had 2 touchdown passes to Blaine King. Blake Howard, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. Cody Strozik, 79 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Spud Swagger, 68 yards and a touchdown and a sick name. I would just like to remind everybody that I actually came up with the term Clash of the Hyphens.
You did?
Yeah.
And it's taking hold. This is why we come up with names for just about every rivalry or matchup, because 1 in 10 are going to take hold.
Yeah, sometimes they stick. And you know what? Clash of the Hyphens, it's a sick name.
We just need a trophy this year.
Yeah, the trophy is just like a dowel.
Yeah. As long as it can separate into 2 pieces.
Piece of 2x4.
Yeah.
To each, like a 2x4 that's cut in half and then
just like spray painted.
Yeah.
Spray painted gold.
Yeah, well, whichever team wins gets to spray painted their colors. So it could be green or like dark blue, or something like that.
Black and whatever that purplish color that RSB has that's really terrible for their home jerseys.
We need to make some calls to some athletic directors and make this happen.
Yes.
Yeah, can you guys find a 2x4? You have a shop class? Rainier routs Ilwaco 40-14. Chris Gray had 7 carries for 186 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jake Meldrum was 6-7 passing, 97 yards, 2 scores. And Hunter Howell had 91 total yards and a touchdown. Rainier.
I got a feeling they're going to run away and get like 6 or 7 wins this season.
Okay.
Really?
Especially in that league, that West Division where you're not playing the Anis, or Napa Vine, or they got smacked by Toledo, and what was it? They play PWV or somebody else from the upper division, and they lost by a lot. But you look at the rest of the schedule, they're playing Wahkiakum, Tootle Lake, North Beach. Yeah, they can. It
was Ani they played.
Yeah, it was Ani. Yeah, and they lost that by a lot. But yeah, Tootle, Wahkiakum, North Beach. They got Acosta. Those are all games you can win.
Tootle's in the West.
Yeah.
Okay.
Realignment, man.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the NIL money out there look like? And then Saturday, this is a cross-classification matchup. Non-league, they call these. Linden Christian, 47. Napavine, 6. The Tigers were good for 261 total yards, but threw 4 interceptions, including 2 pick sixes, and they lost a fumble. They were down 7-6 midway through the first quarter before Linden Christian scored to make it 14-6. Carson Denault nearly took the kickoff to the house, and then Napavine turned it over on downs inside the 10-yard line. The Lynx finished the game on a 33-0 run. And Josh, you've got what appear to be some quiz questions in here.
Yeah, I blacked them out. I figured Dylan probably not his thing, but for you and Cody, if you want to take a stab at these.
First running clock loss for the Tigers since.
Am I not supposed to be seeing the answers? I'm not going to say them, but I thought everyone could see those.
Geez. 2010?
No.
Before?
No, after that.
Really?
Yeah.
God, when was it? 2000 and 2012.
No, after that.
Really?
Oh, really? thought it was 2012.
God, let's see. 2014 MWP maybe?
Josh Fay said 2018 to Adna.
Really?
Yeah. And then the next one, the first 40-point loss for the Tigers since
2012.
Yeah.
Funny story how I know that actually.
Really?
I was actually at Faye's house the day after on Sunday, and
After they lost to
Lyndon Christian.
No. In 2012.
No,
Yeah,
like this
okay.
past Sunday, I was
Okay.
at Faye's house, and I don't know how old the kid is now, maybe 9 or 10. His son Evan came up to me and he just riled off like every stat about their loss that he could think of. I was like, "Yeah, your dad's been talking about this stuff." He told me first loss since 2021, first regular season since 2019. And then the 2012 one. So
Yeah, 2012.
I have unfair advantage in this quiz. I've been talking with Evan.
2012, they lost to Morton White Pass by 40 points. That was the last 40-point game they ever had.
Yeah, Morton High Pass was a runner-up that year.
Yeah, I think
2018 Adna, really?
yeah, apparently.
Oh, all right.
But they backdoor covered and only lost by 35.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. All right. This podcast is brought to you by Global Septic, providing septic service and portable sanitation for Thurston, Lewis, Mason, Cowlitz, and Grays Harbor counties. They provide septic pumping, inspection, and riser installation, commercial septic pumping, grease trap services, always a fan favorite, and as always, they will rent you a porta potty or a sink that you can just stick out in your yard, maybe in the house. I don't know. Get crazy with it.
I mean, that's the problem. That's why Napavine lost by so much, because they don't service Whatcom County. Maybe Napavine's power is solely tied to whether Global Septic serves the area.
I don't know. They've won in Wahkiakum County.
Oh, do they not serve? Oh,
I don't think they serve Wahkiakum County.
You're right. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Visit globalseptic.com, GOEBEL septic.com, or call 360-736-2167.
Maybe that's what makes Cathlamet such a tough place to play.
Yeah, no Global
No
Septic. You just have to
Yeah.
Hold it.
Into the river.
Got to dig a hole. In the 2As, in Friday's big-time matchup that featured an undefeated in EBCO squad from Thurston County with a punishing ground game coming to the Twin Cities, Rochester beat Centralia 52-14. I see what you did there.
Yeah, I figured you'd like that one.
Ethan Rodriguez scored 3 touchdowns in the first half and finished with 189 rushing yards. Palmer Watt ran for 121 yards on 18 carries. Terrell Sanders for Centralia had 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown. Your weekly Rochester rushing update. 502 rushing yards this week, bringing the Warriors' average up to 465 rushing yards per game.
It's a good week after, I think, 3 straight weeks of it going down slowly. They got to boost the numbers back up.
Yeah, Rochester,
Rise.
4-1, 3-0 in league play. How does it look for Rochester the rest of the way?
A lot harder.
I would imagine.
They're 4-1. Their 4 losses have come against teams. I think I saw their combined 2-15, 2-18, something like that. They've beat the worst 3 teams in the EFCO who have combined for 0 league wins, and their last 3 games are against teams that have 8 combined league wins, something like that. Aberdeen's undefeated in league, Tumwater's undefeated in league, and WFS is 2-1 with a loss to Tumwater. So it's about to get a lot harder. The good news is they're 3-0, and 3 wins is probably enough to hit a crossover already.
Yeah.
1 more will certainly get them in, but for them to not make a crossover, even with 3 wins, you would have to see some crazy things happen, like Shelton winning out or something like that.
They are not in the top 10 RPI rankings.
They aren't. But it is interesting that the one team they lost to is Seton Catholic, who is number 1 in the 1A RPI rankings for some reason.
I'll be damned. Look at that.
You won't be damned. It makes no sense.
I want to check the comments to see if there's any, where's the cross country? Oh, yep, there it is. Where's the other fall sports? Shut up.
But yeah, I mean, they've done everything you ask for them to do. So
Yeah.
times in Rochester.
Tumwater blows out WFS 55-20.
And the actual headliner.
Yeah. The T-Birds led 27-0 before WFS scored 2 quick touchdowns late in the second to make it 27-14. Then Tumwater got the ball to start the third and took over 7 minutes on a 14-play, 73-yard drive to score again. They won the second half 28-6. Cooper Clark, 19 carries, 157 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jalen Nixon, 82 rushing yards. Ethan Kastner was 9 of 15 passing for 152 yards. David Malroy, 5 catches for 117 yards and a touchdown. For the Bearcats, Gage Brumfield was 14 of 31 passing for 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tumwater, good.
They are Tumwater again. Like, they're back to 2019, 2020 levels of that, I think. You can say they don't have like a Ryan Otten in the passing game, but their line is actually gelling. Their running backs, they're basically running 8 guys at running back, kind of just alternating every play. Cooper Clark's been really good. Jalen Nixon, WFS just couldn't tackle Jalen Nixon kind of at all. And then they've got 4 or 5 other guys that'll take sort of the outside handoffs. WFS, I think WFS, Gage Rumfield looked fine, but I don't think they want him throwing the ball 31 times. And Tumwater really just took away any sort of ground game for WFS and made them one-dimensional. And yeah, I think Tumwater was waiting for this one. William Garrow was saying, started off the interview with, we've waited 365 days to get back at these guys. And it's like, well, not like you were counting or anything.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Elsewhere in the EVCO, Black Hills loses to Aberdeen 17-10. The Wolves were up 10-7 at halftime, but was shut out in the second half. Jackson Beck was 21 of 33 for 233 yards, threw a touchdown pass to Maddox Hodge. That sounds like a fake name. The Wolves went 0 for 13 on third downs. Black Hills drops to 0-5 with 3 one-possession losses.
Tough times.
Yeah, that's tough. Elsewhere in some 1B games, Winlock got their first win of the season, 56-22 over Sound Christian. James Cousin?
It's one of those 3.
All right. He ran 24 times for 5 touchdowns and 366 yards. Jeez.
It's one of those, you get that it's 1B, and I'm starting to think that Sound Christian might not be particularly good, but I feel like I'd get tired after running 366 yards.
Yeah, that's like damn near a quarter mile. Landon Klein scored 2 rushing touchdowns. And then elsewhere, coaches, please call your scores in. Tenino lost to Eatonville 23-12, and Oakville lost to Nacelle 64-6.
And the only other one that was called in, but Tahola forfeited it against Mossy-Rock, so Mossy-Rock didn't play.
All right. Mossy-Rock, what do they look like? 4-1?
I have no clue. They're like 4-1. They lost the game to PL. I think they're 3-1, and they've running clocked 3 really bad 8-man teams.
Not currently ranked in the RPI.
Yeah, that's.
I wouldn't rank them either.
Disagree.
If you're based on results, they have no real results that you can pay attention to. The problem with them, obviously, is they have one game that really actually tells you anything about them, and it's coming up next week.
Okay,
who's that against?
Nissa.
We'll get there
next
Calm
week.
down.
We're not talking about it this week.
We'll get there in grid picks. Oh, next week.
Next week.
Okay.
The
Well, then by all means.
Yeah.
This podcast brought to you by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery. How you guys sitting on furniture?
I'm on a chair right now. It's a little rickety. But
Do you wish it was better?
I do actually wish it was better.
Still got the Bills Mafia table over here.
Yeah, that's a great table. Josh, could I interest you in a Braylon swivel glider accent chair to do your podcasting from?
Let's see. I can't move and look with my mic just a sec. Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. You can get one at Elam's Home Furnishings and Sleep Center or Mattress Gallery, however you want to call it. 1530 South Gold Street in Centralia. You can visit them online at elamshf.com. Find all your coolest deals, and you can get a sweet deal on like a credit card too.
Elam's Home Furnishings, enter code Jesse at checkout for 15% off your order, right?
Yeah, Jesse
Elam.
Jesse, yes. He will personally come down there and sit on a chair with you and talk about how comfortable it is. In some sadder news, Tenino principal, coach, announcer, legend Hal Williams died at the age of 86 on Wednesday. He was the PA announcer for Tenino football from 1963 to 2017. He also spent decades as the principal of Tenino Elementary, now Parkside Elementary. He served as both the head middle school basketball coach and an assistant on the high school team. He was inducted into the Washington Interscholastic Basketball Coaches Association Hall of Fame as an assistant. and he started the Tenino Track and Field program and helped found Tenino Little League. I met him once or twice. You know what? Nice guy.
Yeah.
Good
I
dude.
mean, you're the institutional knowledge. I figured. I just got you texted me when that news came around, like, yo, we should probably write about this. And I called a couple people. I called Dave Montgomery, who took over for him in 2018 as the PA guy at Tenino.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, I always tell people that I want to do it as long as he was doing it, but that means I'm going to be doing it when I'm 92. So
Well, yeah.
best start going. And I talked to Ryan Robertson, who obviously was in that community a lot, the current boys basketball coach over there. And he was like, yeah, it's just a great guy.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh, wow.
But his words were, when you think of Tenino, you probably think of Hal Williams.
Yeah. The few times I met him, he just seemed like just your classic, really old, nice guy.
Yeah.
Really nice old guy. Both. And then another one, it all came coming back the day after memorial service. Friends honor Larry Heinz with a wiffle ball game. Larry Heinz was a longtime Rochester baseball coach. He died August 9th after a battle with pancreatic cancer. On Saturday there was a bigger memorial service at Rochester High School. And then on Sunday, a few dozen people were out at Wheeler Field for this. American Legion reps held a memorial on the field and presented Eric Heinz with a folded flag. Larry Heinz served in Vietnam. Then everybody got to eat a Wheeler burger, and they played a wiffle ball game.
It was a really fun. I went out to this just because it was close to the apartment, and we had seen stuff about it on Facebook before, and it was a really fun and kind of touching moment. And talking to Eric Heinz during that, it was like, the memorial was good, and it was good to see a bunch of people out there. But he was like, yeah, I basically grew up at Wheeler Field, and this is where a lot of the memories I have from my childhood, and especially with my dad, are associated. And he was like, yeah, just you come in and you smell the burgers, and yeah, it was just kind of a good moment for a bunch of members of that community.
Yeah, Heinz had stopped coaching Rochester by the time I got to the sports department, but I ran into him a couple times, and he was also just, nice guy. Always had a story.
Yeah.
Good dude. And then finally, Jim Capel died Sunday at the age of 61. He was born and raised in Longview, graduated from R.A. Long before going to UW. Sports writer, wrote for the St. Paul Pioneer Press, the Seattle PI. That's the Post-Intelligencer for...
Used to be, at least.
Used to be for, people who are...
my age.
Yeah, you guys' age. He also wrote for ESPN and The Athletic. Josh, do you have thoughts, memories?
I just wanted to put this in there. And Jim was one of my mentors, coming from both remotely. And then when I finally got to meet him, he was the kind of guy, he was basically a legend for Zaley when I was at UW. He was the type of guy, that was when he was still writing, that when Jim Capel published something, you shared it with your friends and you talked about it. And then a couple times in my years that he would come back and always willing to talk with you, always willing to read something that you had. And then it just sort of was the added thing that he's kind of from this area down in Longview. His nephew, Christian Capel, wrote a really incredible and touching piece about him over the weekend. And he's on his blog on Montlake, and I would encourage everybody to go and read it, because Jim Capel he had the coolest life you could ever want. And when he wrote for ESPN, he was basically writing a column on offbeat stuff. So he did the wife carrying competition in Scandinavia or whatever. He did a series where for March Madness, where he just lived in frat houses for like an entire month as
sounds great.
As like a 40-year-old or whatever. He just had all sorts of cool stories. He covered like 20 World Series. He covered 6 Olympics. And yeah, it was really sad to hear that he passed away.
All right. Good addition. This podcast also brought to you by the previously mentioned AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. Your comfort is their business. They offer full-service HVAC installation, services, and repair with a 100% satisfaction guarantee on everything they do. Josh, you missed your...
just like this
us.
podcast.
Thank
There it
you,
is.
guys, for picking me up. I'm in my feelings here, okay? There was a lot of death in that last segment.
Yeah, there was. They have a 24/7 emergency service line. 360-948-2410. Or if it's less of an emergency, maybe just shopping around.
Because apparently if it's an emergency, they're going to send 3 trucks out to you.
3 trucks
Gonna send the
immediately.
entire inventory.
Send everyone. west.americoolonline.com. Happy to have the coolest business in town as our sponsor.
Nice.
We've got some quotes, comments of the week. From Napavine coach Josh Fay after their 47-6 loss to Linden Christian. He said, "It's definitely okay to get popped in the mouth once in a while." He said, "But I think we got run over by a car."
He had some great quotes when you could tell Josh Fay is great. And first of all, obviously it's great of him to call in after just getting their butts handed to them. And I would expect nothing less than Josh Fay, but I could tell he had been sitting on some good loss quotes for a couple of years now, and he was really waiting to unveil those and get those on paper. Yeah, exactly.
I can just imagine him at 2 a.m, he can't sleep. He's like, I gotta write this down.
I
haven't lost in 2 years.
It's in the depths of his notes in his phone.
Been waiting for this. I talked to him after they lost the state championship game in the Tacoma Dome. Must have been 2000, I don't know, 14, 15, 16. It was in that range. And I asked him something about how he thinks his kid's going to bounce back or they're going to be okay. And he just deadpanned yeah, hopefully they'll learn from this and, become contributing, members of society or something. And I was yeah, I don't know what I expected. Yeah, Faye's great. I'm sure Napavine will be fine. From Onalaska coach Mazen Sadi in the Loggers out-physicaled by Riverhawks story, or Loggers out-physical Riverhawks in shutout victory. Maz says, "We're so freaking proud of these guys. It was a big homecoming win, and now they get to go shake their booties and enjoy it."
Homecoming is fun in Onalaska by the sounds of it.
Maz just dropping a Taylor Swift shake it off deal in there. And
Enough with the Taylor Swift already.
We haven't even discussed Taylor Swift. On a Facebook comment about that article, this commenter says, "What in the hell is out-physicaled? I hope that quote wasn't from a teacher/coach."
I hadn't seen that. That's hilarious. Yeah, it was directly from the coach about once every 5 seconds.
I'm just reminded of, I follow Amy Just on Twitter. I've met her a couple times. She covers Nebraska now, and every time she tweets because every time she writes an article or tweets with the word doink in it for a missed field goal, somebody emails her and is like, doink isn't a real word.
May not be real, but it is fun. Okay.
You kind of change the rules for sports a little bit.
You're allowed to make up
there
new
that
words.
get the red squiggly line underneath them. Yeah. That's just how it goes.
If a coach says it, I'm going to use it.
What's your favorite not a word to put in an article? Because I think mine's trickeration, and it's always going to be trickeration.
I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'll mull it over.
We'll just call it good for every time I misspell something.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to do.
Right.
The thing is, it's got to be popular enough that people catch on.
Just wait.
I read this comment and my initial response, I saw it on Facebook. It was like, this guy doesn't know ball.
No.
Grid picks. You guys ready for grid picks?
For sure.
The season records at this point. Dylan is in the lead. Well, Jordan is in the lead at 49-12.
Catching up, though.
Yeah, Dylan's at 48-13. Josh and I are 47-14.
Oh, you guys
Cody, do you want to announce your own, or
40-21?
Do you want to put the cone of shame over yourself? 40-21.
Man, it was just week one. It really messed me up. I've been hanging right with you guys ever since.
Chad is 29-32, and everybody knows the gimmick with Chad. He just picks the home team, and so his picks are kind of like a good litmus test about how good football in Lewis County is.
Yeah, pretty much.
We are 29-32 against teams from outside Lewis County, which is not great, really. Anyway, and Isabel, our guest guesser, what did she go last week?
She went 7-3, I think. No, we didn't have that many games.
She went 7-3.
7-3,
yeah.
So she tied with you, actually.
Okay. What did I miss? I was 8-2.
Oh, okay.
I had the tie for the best record with you guys.
I mean,
I missed Black Hills Aberdeen.
And Chad went 4-6.
And we all took losses on the Napavine game.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get back to the tab here. All right, this week's games. Centralia at Shelton. Everybody's got Shelton except for Chad and Isabel. All right. I don't like it. Sure.
Yeah.
WF West at Rochester. Dylan's got Rochester. Cody's got Rochester. Everybody else has WF West. I think I'm like obligated to pick WF West these days.
Why's that?
Why? Yeah.
My
child
attends school there. Yeah, I don't know. WF West. They're still
It was a toss-up for me.
I feel like if you're
same.
going off of just results from this season, if you're looking at it in a vacuum, Rochester has to be up there with them. Maybe even favorites.
Okay. Interesting.
But there's also, historically, I think I don't actually know the last time Rochester beat WF West. It is at least 20 years ago.
They played a really close game a couple years ago. Like 3 years ago, maybe. I don't know that Rochester's beat them in a long time, though.
Yeah, I'm jumping on the Rochester train with Dylan with this one just because just as I know every week when we get back into the office, we always count up and take a guess at if Rochester's rushing yards were over or under like 450. And I don't know much about how WF West has been doing this year, but it seems like they've been slightly underperforming, at least compared to last year.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing AJ Easley was saying about the Rochester offense was like he wants it to be good, but he also thinks that it's something that can take maybe like so far they've used it to roll over teams that they are better than. But it's different enough than what a lot of teams are going to be practicing against that maybe you can take a team like a WF West or an Aberdeen who maybe on paper are a little bit more physically talented, a little deeper, maybe even better, but be able to just hit them with something that they have no clue how to stop.
And like you were telling me via text, Josh, it's an interesting enough matchup to have a divided field for picks.
Yeah,
for sure.
Also, Rochester might not have beaten WFS in like 20 years, but there was a long stretch where they just didn't play.
No, that's what I meant.
Rochester was 1A forever, and they were a pretty good 1A team with Bob Woolen as the head coach. Then he went to Pullman, won a state title, and came back here and coached WFS for a while. There's your history lesson for the week.
Sweet.
Nice. Tumwater at Aberdeen. Yeah, go Greyhounds. Tumwater at Aberdeen. Everybody picked Tumwater.
Matchup of the undefeateds. But, yeah.
Elma at Black Hills. Everybody picked Black Hills except Isabel, who picked Elma. Hoquiam at Tenino. Everybody picked Tenino except Isabel, who picked Hoquiam. What?
The theme in the previews this week for Centralia, but especially Tenino and Black Hills, is if it's going to happen, it's got to happen this week.
Yeah.
You can't, 0-5, especially Tenino. Tenino's 0-5. They're 0-1 in league, and their only losses to the league champs. They got everything to play for, but you really need to beat the bad teams on your schedule.
All right. Stevenson at Adna. Everybody took Adna except Isabel, who took Stevenson. Stevenson coming off a
33-7 loss to...
And then the week before that, they lost to somebody, and there was a scuffle on the sidelines.
Oh, yeah, I did
Seton
see
Catholic,
that.
was
Seton
that
Catholic,
it?
yeah. I think a Seton Catholic coach punched a Stevenson player or something.
Well,
Don't they have a couple wins this year, though?
Maybe. I mean, they are a 1A school.
Their coach won that fight against a child, so
hell yeah.
I guess that counts.
I mean, I was talking to some inside sources from Adna, and apparently they were saying Stevenson's actually good this year compared to last year. I mean, we played them last year, and I think we might have had 40 rushing yards, and we beat them 33-0. So, I don't think they won a game last year, and I think they've won 2 games so far this year. So clearly something's going better. They told me they had a new coach and some kind of new offense. So who knows? All right, who knows with this Adna team, man.
Napavine and Morton White Pass. I wouldn't want to be Morton White Pass.
I really wouldn't want to be Morton White Pass.
That sounds terrible.
I just remember one of the first games I ever covered was during the COVID season, and it was when it was the Napavine Kalama game back at Kalama, and Lathan Demarest just ran for 500 yards, and they beat Kalama 49-32. And Jordan told me to talk to Josh Fay after the game, and I talked to Josh Fay, and he goes, "Yeah, I wouldn't want to be Adna, who has to play Kalama next week." That was the game you played him at Montesano.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It did not go well. And I just remember that when I saw that on the schedule, I would not want to be Morton White Pass this week.
Yeah. PWV Toledo. Josh has got Toledo. Dylan and I have PWV. Cody's got Toledo. Jordan's got Toledo. Chad and Isabel have PWV. Yeah, I don't know. This was a toss-up. I don't have any strong feelings either way. I will not be surprised no matter what happens.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like these are still two of the top, probably 5 teams in the state.
Yeah, they're both fine.
This was my preseason most interesting matchup, and I don't know. I don't know if it's quite lived up to that or not, but I still think it's interesting. And it's getting to the point in the season where I have the pleasure of, with these grid picks, sometimes I was actually able to watch both teams play so far. And this is one of those case scenarios. And just from what I have watched, I think Toledo takes this one.
You, after having talked about their quote-unquote stupid hook and ladder plays.
I call it stupid because it's worked against me a couple times.
I mean, as long as they aren't continuously in 3rd and 4th and 10 pluses.
Right, yeah.
Maybe
I
they
called
can
it
throw some
stupid,
points
but
on
then
the
I said
board.
it works. So it off balances.
One of those, 60% of the time it works every time.
Just
Situations.
test.
54% of the time.
54%.
4% of the time. Ocosta at Rainier. Everybody's got Rainier.
Yeah.
Onalaska at Kalama. Everybody's got Onalaska.
Does this game have like history or something?
Onalaska, Kalama? Do they know each other?
Yeah.
Do they feel strongly one way or the other?
This is one, I mean, I feel like it's going to be more like the 2021 match. It's going to be closer. It's probably going to be like the winter 2021.
If you're going to this game, get there early.
Yeah.
The sunset. Yeah. Looks beautiful from up there.
Well, I just saw that Kalama played Stevenson last week, and they won like 35-7, and Aiden Brown, their quarterback, threw for 500 yards, and he ran for another 100 or something like that.
They only scored 35 points with
something like
600 yards.
I don't know.
What's their record sitting at this year?
They're fine. They lost to Woodland, I believe. I think they beat Castle Rock. They lost. I think they're 3-2 right now. But they're also on the upswing. They are a year away. They're probably about where Ani was last year because they were bad last year.
All right. Chief Leshai at Mossy Rock. Everybody's got Mossy Rock. Winlock at Oakville. Everybody's got Winlock except Isabel, who went with Oakville. I think Winlock, they're going to be fine in this one.
Chief Leshai no longer in the 2B RPI rankings.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. All right. We're back after that quick break. And it's time to discuss other sports. First up, golf. Von Wasson, he's back.
Von Wasson, he's back.
Still good?
Still pretty good.
Never
All
left.
No, he left for a bit. That's why he's back.
Was he like
Never
injured?
mind.
What was
Yeah,
his?
he was hurt.
Oh, okay. He shot a 39 in his first match back. Since then, he's come in at even par in 2 straight matches. Centralia's 3-0 since his return.
He makes them slightly better, as a matter of fact.
You know, it's
Some would say shooting 39 does increase the team's chances to win.
Back-to-back 36s, yeah.
yeah, that's like having like Christian McCaffrey on your fantasy team. You're just like, well, we're in good shape here.
Yeah, and then it turns out you also have Puka Nakua in your flex. And
Yeah, that
Jalen
was-
Hurts does well for you, too. Hey, how did fantasy go this week, Aaron?
It's pretty bad, Josh.
Is that 2 straight losses to Josh and I?
I think so. Yeah, now, Josh just dumped it on. It was just
178.
McCaffrey had like 46.
What was it, 178 to 120 something?
Yeah, like I didn't have a bad week.
No,
I just
120 is a good week.
ran into a buzzsaw. It was gross.
Just got to play
Von
better.
Wasson, the
better
Christian
defense.
McCaffrey of Lewis County sports, is what we're saying.
Do we think
Yeah,
this
go
is
golf.
Von Wasson's year?
I hope so, man.
So do I, man. He's been in the
He
Like,
finished
down to the
third
last
2 years
minute.
ago, and he finished second last year, so...
yeah. He was like tied for first, and they came in and thought they were going to do a tiebreaker, and then some kid in the group behind him just had the day of his life. And
Exactly.
He's got to be a senior by now, right?
He is,
he's
yeah.
a senior, yeah. WFS volleyball earned their first win and a league win last night, sweeping Rochester. Grace Simpson had 10 kills and 5 aces.
I don't mean to be like a downer, but we've had just not a whole lot of good volleyball matchups the past week. Or
Yeah.
soccer. We like the first week we really got off with a bang with the Adden Napavine and the Napavine Rainier games. There's just haven't been a lot of close ones recently. Dylan almost had a really good one, and then he went and nobody was there.
Yeah, Rainier Toledo last night. I went out to Rainier. Walk in, they're in the 3rd set of the JV match. Coaches and I don't know if it was 2 siblings or 2 varsity players are on the corners, and they're like, "Oh, refs never showed up, so we just aren't going to play." Hopped over to Centralia against Aberdeen. That was a pretty good match. That went 5. Centralia's comeback kind of fell just short. A lot of unforced errors in the first 2 sets, and they ended up coming back to tie it at 2, but when you go down 10-2 in the fifth set, it's pretty big hole to try to climb out of. But that was probably the best game we've had in the last 7 days or so.
Rochester Soccer just had a good win over WF West. WF West outshot Rochester 18-2, and as Kevin Schultz said, when you outshoot someone 18-2, you should win probably, and they did not. Rochester just basically held firm on defense, and as Matt Ashton, their coach, said, got a little lucky at some points, but it was 1-0 going into the final 5 minutes, and then Rochester kind of lucked into a PK and hit its PK and won 2-1. And that's the only part that matters.
The Washington State volleyball coaches poll is out. The 2A's Tumwater is number 8. Is that correct? Deserved?
I believe these a little bit more than I believe the RPI rankings.
And in the 2Bs, Adna is number 2, Napavine is number 4, and Rainier received votes.
Do you know who is number 1 in that poll, Josh?
I believe it's Manson.
Manson is number 2 in the RPI poll. In RPIs in 2Bs, Adna is number 1, Manson 2, Napavine 3, and Rainier is 8. Tudor Lake is 10.
Yeah, they'll be good. Manson is. I think they were the number. I think they actually won the state tournament last year.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
do we know where Manson is? I'm not sure.
Somewhere in a prison.
In a prison?
Still alive? I thought he died.
Yeah, exactly. Manson's going to be good. LaConner, I think, is not quite as good as they have been in past years, but they are going to be very good. Colfax has the girl whose name I'm blanking on, who is 6'4" and going to probably play basketball at Iowa or UConn or someplace like that.
I thought she was. I was just going to say I thought she was for Manson.
No, she's from Colfax. Bryn McCaughey or something like that. She's a 5-star basketball recruit. Turns out she's also okay at volleyball.
Yeah, that translates. Manson is on Lake Chelan.
Okay.
Sounds nice.
Man, they're good at volleyball over there because Chelan's like the best 1A program. So it's kind of like those 3 teams from out of the area, I think, and then Napavine. Napavine's going to play Kalama tomorrow. That's going to be a good size matchup. They've already played once, and Napavine won.
In the 1Bs, Mossy is ranked 3rd in the coaches poll. And that's slow pitch. Not ranked in the RPI rankings. Legitimate.
Very.
In RPI, girls soccer, Tumwater's 5. Something called Summit Atlas is number 1 in the 1B, 2B girls soccer rankings.
I mean, why not?
I don't know what that is. That sounds like an Anne Rand book.
That's the boys.
No, that is the voice.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well. I don't know what to tell you then.
Crosspoint is very good. Crosspoint has beaten most of the area at this point because they beat Tenino and they beat Onalaska, and I think they might have beaten Adna too. So, believe that.
All right. What are you guys doing Friday?
Trying to figure that out. There's the Rochester WF West game that looks interesting. Other than that, there's not a whole lot. It might be kind of a week to go out and hit some schools that we haven't gone to. That like Oakville's playing Winlock, and we haven't been out to either of those schools. Might hit one of those.
That's Oakville or
at
Winlock?
Oakville.
That's at Oakville. Might hit up. Who knows? Might hit up the Rainier game. Haven't been out there yet.
If they have
Mossy
refs.
Rock?
Yeah, Mossy Rock. We'll go to Mossy Rock next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, with that, you can follow the sports guys at Cronline Sports on Twitter.
Do it.
Or at the Chronicle Sports on Twitter. How's that?
On Instagram.
Is there a space in there? What's the deal,
Oh,
Cody?
it shouldn't be. I put that in.
At the Chronicle Sports on Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just the Chronicle Sports.
See Cody's cool graphic design work.
He had 500 followers.
Just hit,
in a month.
Saturday hit 500 in a month, baby.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Getting good engagement.
Yeah.
Much better engagement than the general Chronicle Instagram account.
That's what the people are saying.
Top to liked post on record came out Friday with the Tumwater gets their revenge on the Bearcats post.
How many likes you get on there?
182.
That's pretty good. All right. With that, we're gonna close it out, and we'll talk to you next week.